Gentleman from Charlottesville, Mr. Toscano.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for a point of personal privilege.
Gentleman has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, in this last election, we heard a lot about economic insecurity. Despite 75 months of consecutive job growth, a string that's been unprecedented in American history, many Americans remain worried. They're worried about how to make ends meet for their families and how to protect their families and where their next raise is going to come from. And now Republicans in Washington, including the newly elected president, are about to increase that economic insecurity by repealing the Affordable Care Act. We've heard the Republicans' mantra for years: repeal and replace, repeal and replace, repeal and replace. The reality, however, is that while Republicans railed against the ACA, they cannot agree on a concrete plan to replace it. So here's the question of the day. Can anyone tell me how many times in the last 6 years Republican representatives in the Congress have voted to repeal the ACA? Stay tuned. I don't think anyone is really quite sure, so I'm not sure I can be fact-checked on this one, but I think the most recent number is somewhere around 60. Yes, that's 60 times that they've tried to repeal one of the most significant health care initiatives in our history, a measure that reduced the percentage of uninsured from 16% in 2010, before the bill took effect, to about 8.6% today, benefiting almost 21 million Americans. Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House, repeal without replacement is fiscally irresponsible and will only make more Americans more economically insecure. We have a pretty good idea of what repeal looks like. According to the Urban Institute, repeal means that the number of uninsured in this country will double by the year 2019. 82% of those people will be in working families. I'm not sure that that's what it means to make America great again. Repealing the ACA means repealing the revenue streams that support it. Now, I know lots of people don't like taxes, but the major beneficiaries of that repeal will be the wealthy. An average of $33,000 a year going into the bank accounts of the wealthiest 1% of Americans, and an average of $197,000 going into the bank accounts of the top 1%. I hope the people in this chamber would agree that that's not a good version of tax reform. Repeal is a job killer. A recent report by the George Washington Milken School of Public Health projects that repeal will cost 3 million jobs by years 2021. Can you say the words economic insecurity? Well, what about Virginia? Because that's what we're about here. 400,000 people would lose their insurance. Virginia would lose millions in federal funding that has helped Virginia citizens buy insurance on the exchanges. DMAS projects losses in the Virginia budget of $314 million in federal funds. 22,000 children who gained coverage would be kicked off their coverage. 800,000 seniors would no longer receive free preventive care. 50,000 jobs lost in Virginia. These are the numbers, but there are real people behind the numbers, including Jeff Jeans, a resident of Arizona who appeared before Paul Ryan's committee the other night and talked about how the Affordable Care Act saved his life. Or Cameron Ziegler of Roanoke, whose piece you might have seen in the Roanoke paper over the weekend, who has Parkinson's disease, lost his job, and would not have any insurance but for the ACA. Ladies and gentlemen, you know people like Jeff, and you know people like Cameron, because they are your neighbors and your friends. We have coverage. We are a part-time legislature. We are part-time employees, but we have insurance, government insurance. How many of us would turn that down to face a private market to buy insurance that is increasingly unstable? Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House, we need to let Congress know our concerns. And so, I have drafted a letter that is very mild-mannered, very diplomatic, that I'm asking every member of this House to sign, to send to our congressional representatives, explaining to them that repeal without knowing a replacement is a recipe for chaos. It doesn't use the word chaos. It's a very nice letter. And I hope that you all will sign it. I'm going to send it around this afternoon. We're going to take it till Thursday at 5 p.m. for everyone to sign on if they want, and it will go Friday to our congressional delegation. I hope that you'll be free. I hope you will be willing to sign on the letter, and I appreciate the time of the body. Thank you.